Today, I want to spend some time talking about money. I don't usually talk about money, but today I'm going to be talking about money, but not in the way you expect me to. Um, I realize that money is a very interesting subject matter. Whenever I talk about money on my podcast or any content I've made about money, it always gets a lot of attention. It tells me that money is of high priority in a lot of people's heart. In the average person's heart, money is of the highest priority. I'm going to be talking about money, but then I'm using it as an illustration to make a stronger point. And I'll start out by saying that money comes in denominations. I think in most parts of the world, if not every part of the world, I don't know any economy where they have just one type of money. I think every single economy, at least most, have denominations. And that means that money has an ascending or a descending order in terms of economic value within an environment. That means you have a lower denomination and the highest denomination in any economy. In Nigeria, our denominations have changed over the years in terms of some have become defunct and some have been totally wiped out because they had very, very little economic value. When I was growing up, we had something called 1 kobo. I think we had 10 kobo, we had 50 kobo, we had 1 naira. Those things have been largely phased out because they cannot do anything economically. But now I think economically, I'll start from 5 naira. I'm not even sure if 5 naira is still available because I've not seen 5 naira in years. I can't think of too many things if anything, that 5 naira can afford. So if 5 naira still is still existing, it exists as a legal tender, but with very little economic value as a unit denomination. But for the sake of this podcast, I will still mention it. So let's say we have 5 naira, we have 10 naira, we have 20 naira, we have 50 naira, we have 100 naira, we have 200 naira, we have 500 naira, and we have 1,000 naira. Those are the denominations we have in Nigeria. So we have 1,000 naira as the highest denomination, and 5 naira and 10 naira as the lowest denomination in Nigeria today. Now, when I was a young boy, I was born and I grew up. I spent the first 21 years of my life in Lagos, Nigeria. And for those who know Lagos, Lagos is an activity hub. It is a place where people know they work hard a lot and they party very hard too. And it has always been that way. When I was growing up, we went to parties almost every other weekend. Not every weekend. I knew for families that went to parties every weekend. We were more conservative. We went nearly every other weekend. There was always a family activity, party. And people in Lagos threw the wildest parties. You can have someone throwing a party, and because of that, they are going to close down the street. Nobody's going out on that Saturday. So you just hear that your neighbor is having a party and you cannot go out. You can't go anywhere because they've locked down the streets with canopies and cars and everybody. And it's like that till, they had parties late into the night. And so we used to go for some of these parties with our parents. And there was always this time towards the end of the party where the entertainer would sing and people would go and dance. and then they would spray money. They will spray money to whoever is dancing. They have wads of money in their hand, and they will spray it to whoever is dancing. And as a little kid, we saw that as an opportunity for us to make money, because my parents never gave us pocket money, and we just wanted to have money in our hands. Not that we had anything to spend it on, but we just have our opportunity to have what we could regard as our own money. So we get in there with the adults dancing. And a lot of times when adults see children dancing, they kind of see it as very adorable, so they start to spray them money. And we'll dance for about 30, 45 minutes, and we gather all this money and we'll put them together. As kids, we had nothing to do with it, so I'll go proudly to my mom and say, "Mommy, I made so much money." And I'll give it to her. And at that time, we had something called the 1 naira note. That doesn't exist anymore in Nigeria, but I had something called the 1 naira note. And my mom will count the money and say, "All you have is 25 naira." I said, "No, Mom, see all that money in your hands? That should be about 2 million, I was a little kid. That's a lot of money, Mommy. I could be able to buy a car." My mom would laugh and say, "Okay, no worry, I'll buy a car for you tomorrow." But I saw myself dancing so hard. Sometimes I'll have 50 of 1 naira note, and I'll be so proud. And I say, "Okay, I should be able to afford 2 cars right now." And I see my mom will put it all in a rubber band, tied up with a rubber band, and put it in a bag. I didn't understand that even though I had a huge volume of money, it had very little economic value. It could purchase very little. But then there were some people that were dancing, and they have very little. I used to compare. I say, "Mommy, you have very little. I have more than you." But at that time, she had 100 naira notes or 200 naira notes with her. You see, even though I had my 20 or 50 1 naira notes, there was nothing compared to her 10 100 naira notes at that time. In today's world, in Nigeria, if somebody goes and dances and they get sprayed 50 naira, if you have 100 of it, and somebody goes and dances and gets sprayed 1,000 naira, and they get 10 of it, they have more than you. It's not about the volume you stack up. Your denomination is lower economic value. Now, why am I saying this? The essence of this podcast is to make us understand that the universe in itself, just like every country is an economic system, the universe is also an economic system. And it has legal tenders, just like every country has its own legal tenders. I want to have you know that the universe also has its own legal tenders, currency. And they also have denominations. There are also denominations to them in terms of what they can get you and how far they can get you. The essence of this podcast is to point out the universe's legal tender for currency and what their economic value in the universe is. Because I feel some people need to listen to this. A lot of people feel unfairly treated because they feel they have a word of some form of legal tender currency, but they feel the universe is unfair in transacting with them because when they try to cash it in, they get very little. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. I'm going to be pointing out 3 currencies that the universe operates with. 3. There might be more than 3, but I'm choosing these 3 because these 3 are validated by the Bible. And the Bible, for me, is the standard on which I stand in my belief system. So there might be others, but for me, the Bible backs these 3 up. The first currency and legal tender of the universe is hard work. Hard work is the first, but also the lowest. Hard work is the first I'm going to talk about in terms of the legal tender currency of the universe. I mean, everywhere on the planet. And if there's an existence outside this planet, it still holds. It is hard work. Hard work. And the Bible tells us about hard work. We are told in the Bible, says, look at the ants, see how they walk. And here the Bible was trying to talk about laziness and telling us not to be lazy. So look at the ants. They walk, and because they walk in summer and in winter, they have something to eat. What hard work does when you cash it in is that it makes available provision. So when other people do not have, you would have something. You would have something. Now, the Bible doesn't tell us whether they have a lot of something, but it says there's something. It doesn't tell us whether it's something they like, but it tells us there's something they have to survive. They can survive winter. That's what the Bible was saying. It said they can survive winter. They do not have to die. So hard work can keep you alive. It can keep you alive. It's great for survival. When you tender it, the universe will say, you can live, have this. The universe will give you what is available for you to survive. It's funny how the schooling system focuses on this denomination and tells us to dance for this denomination called hard work. It's not bad, but it's the lowest. You do a lot of dancing. Dance for minutes and gather so much. You gather so much. But then, economically, very weak. So a lot of hardworking people that I see feel cheated. I worked hard for 20 years. I still cannot afford this. I work hard. I still cannot send my children to this. I work hard. I still cannot get this. And they feel cheated. That's like somebody that gathers 50 naira notes and wants to go and buy land. Even if you have 1,050 naira notes, it cannot buy you land. If you had 100,050 naira notes, I doubt it can buy you any good land anywhere. But then we are so consumed by how much it looks like, but not knowing that the economic value is very low. Very low economic value. That denomination, it tenders, but doesn't offer a lot in terms of what it can purchase. The purchasing power of the unit is very low. And if you were to stack up the units, because there's a stacking effect, just like there's a stacking effect with physical money, there's a stacking effect with universal currency too. The more you stack, the more it appreciates. But the stacking effect of low currency takes too much. Too much. You have to stack and stack and stack and stack and stack. And a lot of times you do not have enough of a lifetime to stack on low currency. A lot of times it's off-putting to people you tender it to in the universe. Off-putting. Even though you stack so much, it's off-putting. I remember watching this content on Instagram where this guy had, I think, some parking tickets and he wanted to just be a nuisance. So he went with dimes or so. And he wanted to pay parking ticket for, I think about $200 or so. And he came with this sack of coins and he poured it on the table. And the people said they were not going to take it from him. And he said, no, that's legal tender. But he said they were not going to take it from him. He had a right, but then he became irritating to them because what he was stacking was low denomination. It was irritating. And that's why some people, you can be so hardworking that when you tender it, people are irritated by the fact that you invested in something so low. So they will give you, but they only give you grudgingly. You get it without any respect. It's like it's thrown at you. Hard work is a denomination, but it's a low denomination. Like the ant, it helps you to survive winter. Whether you survive on things you like, on things that are good, but you will survive. You won't die. But we do know that there's more than that God expects from us than to just survive. Which brings me to the second denomination of universal currency. This is diligence. Diligence. You can call it consistency, diligence, persistence. The Bible tells us about this. It says, if you find a man diligent in his ways, it says, a man diligent in his ways will stand before kings. Diligence is a universal legal tender. And it does have economic value. It does. Being diligent, the ability to be consistent, to show up, to keep doing something, get better at doing it, show up. Very important. It is. It can get you far in the universe. What it does is that it upgrades your network. Your network. A lot of people say your network is your net worth. It's true. Makes a lot of sense. It gets you in rooms that you never thought you would be in. If you are doing business, it gets you clients that you've always dreamed of. Diligent. When I was working as a logo designer, I did it. I focused on it. Showed up, did it day in, day out. And there were some times I had calls from people that I'm like, I can't believe this person just called me. This person called me because of this thing I'm doing. Diligent. You got me some contacts that I have on my phone right now. That some people are hustling. They are working hard to get those people on their contacts. Those people did not know them. But they know me because I was diligent at doing something. Design, branding. Got me to some offices. I met some people that my parents could not meet. Diligence gets you before kings. If you are diligent, the universe will take you places. When you cash it in, you go places. But I said there's a stacking effect. So someone that is diligent for 1 year will go places, but someone that is diligent for 5 years will go farther. So the people that you get to network with from accumulating this denomination called diligence is different from people you network with when you accumulate it for longer. Just like when you accumulate 200 naira for 2 days, the economic value is lower than that person who has accumulated 200 naira for 2 years. At the end of the day, you have the same denomination, but different economic power. That's what diligence does. It gets you in the presence of kings. Now, a lot of people talk about this scripture. They love this scripture. It's good. But then we don't understand that there's better. People say, but it gets me in the presence of kings. But kings to do what? Kings give orders. They do not take orders. People do not understand that kings give orders. When I talk about how my diligence as a designer got me in places, it got me to a place where I took orders from a lot of important people. But I was taking orders. Sometimes it can be very frustrating being in the presence of a king. It can be good and it can be very bad, depending on what kind of king it is. Because there are good kings and there are mad kings. I've met a couple of mad kings in my life. And I'm like, why did I meet this person? Diligence gets you to take orders. But a lot of times they are privileged orders. So they are from kings. But that's not the ultimate. Because it can be very tormenting taking orders from kings. There's better. There is better. I want to have you know this. Do not stop at diligence. Gets you in front of kings. This to stand before kings. But there's better. And the best is to be a king yourself. The only person that is better than the person that is standing before a king is the person that is sitting on a throne. Standing before a king is not the height of life. It's a good place to be than being a common. But then it's not the height. And that denomination of consistency cannot make you a king. You cannot tender it to make you a king. If you do not have a long enough lifetime to tender it to make you a king. It cannot. And which brings me to the last legal tender, which is the highest of all legal tenders. Universal legal tenders with the highest economic value. When you present this to the universe stands at attention for you. It stops all it's doing to pay attention to you. And the Bible tells us about this legal tender. It's called faith. Faith or belief. To believe or to have faith. You see, when I come to this legal tender, there are some people that are listening right now that say, oh, come on, please. And that's why this legal tender is the highest. Because a lot of people, they do not even believe it exists. It will amaze you to know that there are some people that are so poor, they've never ever seen 1,000 naira before. If you told them, ask them what's the color, they don't know what that color is. They're so uninformed, so unexposed. All they see is 20 naira, 50 naira. They do not believe that a 1,000 naira exists. For them, it doesn't exist. So when they say, I had 1,000 naira, come on, sit down. 1,000 naira, what's that? So there's something more than 100 naira. Come on, that's not true. That's as big as their minds can get. So when I talk about faith, some people say, oh, faith, come on. That's an anticlimax now. Can't you just talk about something with more gusto? Something more genge? No. Faith, belief, the highest legal tender. The Bible tells us, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, that's how incredible this denomination is. You don't need to stack up too much. You don't need to stack up too much. As small as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. You can speak to situations and they will take your orders. What does that mean? You become the king, the mountains and the situations become the subject standing before you. They become diligent to you. You become the king. You do not take orders, you order things. Faith and belief. There's somebody here that needs to start acquiring that denomination. And it's not an abstract denomination. It's more natural than you think. In fact, it is more natural than diligence or hard work. It comes more instinctively, but we learn our way out of it by going to school that tells us to focus on the lowest denomination. And then we go to motivational speakers that tell us to focus on the intermediate denomination. But you must go to God that tells you, I have given you the highest denomination. But a lot of you have put it under your bed. You've put it away. It's gathering dust. You've buried it under so many things. But it's the highest. It comes naturally. As long as you can think, you can have faith. If you can understand these words that I'm saying, you can reason, you can have faith. Because if you can think, you can reason, you can create. And that is what faith is. Creating it in your mind. Once you create it in your mind, the universe cannot but create it for you in the physical. I would say it again. If you can think, you can have faith. Because if you can think, you can create. And once you can create, the universe must manifest it. Faith and belief. Jesus says it. The only work of God is to believe in Him that God has sent. Faith and belief. Very important. Belief. You see, the scary thing about this denomination, the very scary thing, as I was preparing this podcast, just thinking about it, I had to face an ugly truth. That these denominations, like the physical denominations of countries, work both ways. If you put 1,000 naira in the hand of a good-hearted person, it will do what the good-hearted person desires. If you put 1,000 naira in the hand of a wicked person, it will do what the wicked person desires. One person might have a lot of money and build homes for the homeless. One person has the same amount of money and builds weapons of mass destruction. The economy takes it all. It's the same thing with the universal currency. It's not about being a Christian or being a Buddhist, being a good person or a bad person. It's incredible how people with viceful thoughts still key in to this ultimate denomination called faith and imagination and thought and belief. They key into it so much and they cash in on it. You read about tyrants throughout history. Read about Adolf Hitler. He was somebody that nurtured that currency. He saw himself take over Germany and take over Europe. And he did. For some years, he was the number one person in the world. Number one. He was on the lips of every single person. Every single leader met to talk about him, either were for him or against him. He became the subject matter. He nurtured this thought even when he was still a struggling artist with nothing to his name, when nobody knew him. He saw himself as the Führer. He was not someone with virtuous desires, but he took hold of this currency, even though it consumed him in the end. But what I'm trying to say Is there someone here with virtuous character? But then what are you using it to acquire? Lower currency. Hard work. Hard work is the most tormenting one that I see a lot of virtuous people talk about. Hard work, hard work, hard work. Hard work is not bad, but as a single unit, it can't get you far. The incredible thing about the highest denominations or the higher denominations is they always have embedded in them the lowest denomination, but not at single units. 1,000 naira has a lot of 50 nairas embedded in it. So when you have 1,000 naira, you already have 50 naira. When you have faith and belief, it comes with diligence, it comes with hard work, but they come easy. They do not stand out. They flow. They are embedded. They are in the design. So you do not strive for them. They come with the package. So you see someone that has belief and faith. By nature, he gets to be hardworking, but not in a hustling way. In a way that flows. In a way that he doesn't even know that is hard work. He gets to be diligent. In not in a hustling way. He doesn't have to bother himself to say, I need to show up today. I need to try to be consistent. I need to count the days. No, it comes in the package of faith and belief. There's someone that's going to go through the year today. Remember these words. If you can think, you can imagine, you can create. That is the God identity in you. Just as God looked at the world formless, immediately started to create, the world stood at attention for every order that God was going to give it. He has given you the same power. Some of you have hustled too much for what you want. You hustle in the physical, but you do not create it in your mind. If you need to listen to this podcast every day, please do listen to it. Create it in your mind. Create it in your mind. Remember, there's a stacking effect. A lot of people say, I believe yesterday, stacking effect. Yes, you can have 1,000 naira today, but then it doesn't buy you a house. It's a stacking accumulative effect. It will get you there faster than the hard work, stacking up 20 naira. It will get you better than the diligence, stacking up 100 naira. Stack it up. Don't give up. Have faith. The Bible says it. And that's why I said, I'm not thinking of these things from my head. They are principles from the Bible, a book that is true and powerful. It tells you if you have faith, nothing is impossible for you. I need someone to listen to this today. I need someone to start believing. I need you to start visualizing. I need you to start seeing. I need to start believing with your words. Say the right words. Say the right words. Say it like if it has happened. I need you to start believing with your imagination. Think the right thoughts. Think it like it's real. I need you to start believing with your actions. Start acting like you have it. I need to start believing with your emotions. Start being excited about it. I need you to start believing with your associations. Start hanging around with other people that see it the way you see it. And watch how the universe pays you for tendering the highest denomination. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and this is the TA Podcast.